So another one of my corridos that I like, and I hope I'm going to say this with all due respect because I want to be sure that you understand that that's where I'm coming from. But before it's one by Los Invasores called Rafael Caro Quintero, and that is one that is a little interesting because I remember 10 years ago when I was barely like dating my wife, and I would tell her about this corrido, and I was like, yeah, 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 yeah. I went down the rabbit hole of like, no, no, no. They have, yeah, they, they got this American DEA agent, but he was undercover. But there was other stuff. There was other U.S. stuff that was there. But at that time, there was no Netflix documentaries. There was none of that that showed a little bit of a different angle. It was all straight up like Mexican side was bad, U.S. side was good, and so now a little bit with a lot of these Netflix shows, and now that like actually Rafael Caro Quintero is free somehow through technicalities and all that. My question to you, and like with all due respect, like when, especially since you say you were during the Reagan administration, when all of that stuff with Kiki Camarena and all of that went down, how did you take it? What was your narrative at the time? Did you get wrapped up into the, I mean, it's, he was one of your, how did all that go down with you? And now seeing some of the stuff that's come out, like, looking back at it, how do you feel about it?
Well, it's very interesting you say that because I started out, my first assignment with DEA was in Kiki Camarena's office, Calexico, California. And I did a lot of undercover work in Mexicali and Baja California back then. And Kiki had just died right before I hired. And just for some random thing, they assigned me my first office to his office because I think I grew up on the border and I spoke Spanish. But it was unbelievable mess, Carlos, that you almost can't believe, but then maybe you could. Like, for example, Rafael Caro Quintero, you had another U.S. agency called the CIA using his airstrip on his estancia for a staging point to bring the cocaine to the U.S. that was going through South America, Panama, and then to U.S. And I actually had a CIA pilot come into my office and want to be interviewed and tell me the whole story, and thought that this was crazy how the DEA and CIA were financing both sides in a war, and that was kind of the beginning to see the tip of the iceberg of what a mess it was. The DEA's objective was to prosecute people, and the CIA's objective was to do things like fund a rebellion in Nicaragua and use the funds from the drug trafficking. And I don't know if you've ever read Gary Webb's book about the ultimate cocaine from the CIA arriving in Los Angeles and being sold in the US, but it was such a mess. And it's not just a sensational thing for the movies. It is actually true that the US government is that messed up. And I noticed it in South America too, the same things where we'd be doing investigations. I'm not going to give specifics of names because I think I would get in trouble because of grand jury secrecy rules, where I would be in violation of rules, but where I would be investigating a case with a team of officers, of Bolivian military and police officers, that I ran that group, that task force. And we would find out that we were investigating a group that was being funded and organized by the CIA, another agency in the US Embassy down there. It was such a mess that I was going to say you almost can't believe it, but you probably can, because the government doesn't do anything right. You just go into the motor vehicles department or the post office, and you can just tell the government is inefficient and in a mess, whatever they do. And so much of that is secretive in a classified world that a lot of that stuff will never be discovered. Like the US taxpayers will never know what their dollars went to.